Part 5, the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most dangerous choke point. 21 miles of water that keep the global economy running. All of the above, the alliances, the accords, the proxies, the nuclear programs, the oil deals, converge on a single geographical fact. The Strait of Hormuz. At its narrowest point, this body of water connecting the Persian Gulf to the open ocean is just 21 miles wide. And through those 21 miles, approximately 20 million barrels of oil pass every single day. That is roughly 21% of global oil consumption. Nearly one-third of all seaborne oil trade worldwide. The fuel for factories in South Korea, cars in Germany, power plants in India, and construction sites across Southeast Asia, all of it, flowing through this single, narrow strait. Iran controls the northern shore. The 2026 blockade. When the conflict escalated to its peak in early March 2026, Iran moved to exercise that geographic leverage. Beginning March 4, 2026, Iranian naval forces began a de facto blockade of the strait, harassing commercial vessels, mining approaches, threatening to fire on tankers. The effect was immediate and global. Oil that had been trading at $70 to $75 per barrel before the conflict spiked to over $120 within weeks. At the height of the blockade, Brent crude touched $126 per barrel. For context, every $10 rise in oil prices translates, over time, to approximately a 0.1 to 0.2 percentage point increase in global inflation. The spike to $126 was a $50 plus shock. The ripple effects were felt at gas stations in Ohio, in import costs across Europe, in shipping rates throughout Asia. The response. The U.S. Navy, already present in the region in force, worked to keep transit lanes open. Saudi Arabia and the UAE activated alternative pipeline routes that bypassed the strait, but these can handle only 4 to 7 million barrels per day of the 20 million that normally flow through. The gap was not fully bridgeable. China, deprived of its discounted Iranian crude, drew down its strategic reserves, estimated at 3 to 7 months of consumption, and pivoted to Russian and Saudi supply at significantly higher prices. The economic cost was real. By June 2026, a temporary ceasefire and renewed negotiations had partially eased the blockade. Prices settled into the $90 to $100 per barrel range, still 30 to 40% above pre-conflict levels. But the lesson was stark: in an era of great power competition, geography still matters. A narrow strait in the Persian Gulf remains one of the most powerful economic weapons on Earth. Conclusion: 5 things to remember. Let's pull this together. First, the U.S.-Israel alliance is not primarily about values, though values play a role. It is about strategic geography, intelligence capability, and the projection of American power in a region that still controls a massive share of global energy supply. That alliance has bent under pressure, but it has not broken. Second, the Abraham Accords represent a genuine but incomplete transformation of the Middle East. Arab states can normalize with Israel without resolving the Palestinian question. But the Palestinian question does not disappear simply because it is being ignored. The tension between those two facts will define regional politics for years to come. Third, Iran is weaker than it was. But weakness and collapse are not the same thing. The Islamic Republic has a 40-year track record of surviving sanctions, military setbacks, and internal dissatisfaction. Do not write Tehran off. Fourth, China's long game in the Middle East is the most underappreciated story in global geopolitics. Beijing is building economic dependencies and diplomatic credibility across every fault line in the region, simultaneously. The 25-year deal with Iran is one piece of that puzzle. The Saudi-Iran rapprochement was another. This is patient, strategic statecraft at its most sophisticated. Fifth, the Strait of Hormuz is not just a geographic footnote. It is a loaded gun pointed at the global economy, and Iran holds the trigger. Any scenario that leads to a prolonged closure of the strait, whether through miscalculation, escalation, or deliberate choice, carries consequences measured not in military casualties but in trillions of dollars and millions of jobs worldwide. Teaser, Episode 2, The Nuclear Threshold. Coming next time. Iran's nuclear program is the most dangerous unresolved question in world affairs. How close is Tehran to a bomb, really? What stops them from crossing that line? And if they do cross it, what happens next? We'll also go inside the Israeli decision-making process. How does a country of 9 million people calculate the risk of striking a nation of 88 million, and decide it's worth it? Plus, what does a nuclear-armed Iran mean for Saudi Arabia, for Turkey, and for the future of the Abraham Accords? Episode 2, The Nuclear Threshold. Don't miss it.